Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. Erin Summers here. The Saints wrapped up their second practice ahead of the Rams before they'll get to take the day off tomorrow to spend with family and friends celebrating Thanksgiving, and I'm sure eating and watching football, because that's what we're all going to be doing. In talking to the players and coaches this week, they are clearly honed in on the 5-6 Rams and doing everything they need to do to get the win. That loss last season, Week 16 in LA, a reminder as to why every detail matters. Quarterback Derek Carr has faced the Rams 4 times in his career and understands what their front brings even without 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Aaron Donald, who retired last season.
Oh man, young, physical defense, great front. They run and hit at linebacker, safeties, getting picks, corners, veteran, smart players, good players. And they disguise their looks. They show you one thing and do 3 different things from it. They do a great job with the front, moving the front. They play their zones. They play their man. When they know where their help is and all those things. They do a really good job. They're really well coached. You can tell. Some of the things you watch, some of the things that stand out just over the years. You see that they're well coached, but you see a young, hungry defense. And especially over the last few weeks, they've played really well. I know they didn't have the result they wanted this last game, but that doesn't mean everything. When you watch the tape over and over again, you see who they are, and they're really physical, really good front, really good team. We have our work cut out against this team for sure.
While Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, wide receiver Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp are the big names offensively, Saints defensive end Cam Jordan was quick to point out running back Kyren Williams.
Shout out to Coach Ron Gould for having his guy Kyren Williams running at a high level. It's going to be an emphasis to try and eliminate that, take away a really good runner in this league. Their offensive line is a heavy offensive line. It looks like they're actually a physical offensive line for once, which is kudos to whatever they're teaching over there. You see guys get moved off the ball, and at the same time, you have to be able to take advantage, much like the Philadelphia Eagles did this past week.
Eliminating explosive plays from whoever and wherever they come from is top of mind for the defense this week. Here's defensive coordinator Joe Woods.
It's all execution. And that was, we showed some good plays and some bad plays first thing when the guys came back. And when I told them there was 3 plays for 142 yards, right? And when they looked like, it's just easy, but in the moment of truth, you have to execute. And we didn't on those 3 plays. And I told them it was 377 yards. If you eliminate those 3 plays, well, we should. Now it's 235 yards, 46 attempts, 5.1 per attempt, and that's going to be number 1 in the NFL. But that's kind of what's plagued us throughout the season. I've told you guys before, it comes down to like 2 or 3 plays. Now, we were able to overcome that, but that's what we have to eliminate.
When we take the periods, there's guys making plays and everybody's celebrating. Everybody's running out the stack. It looks like everybody wants to be better, play better. We put up plays from the Cleveland game today, and I was like, this is how we get better. And that's the emphasis. It's trying to go 1-0 this week, no matter which way or how.
To break down this matchup with me a bit further, let's bring in NFL on Fox play-by-play broadcaster Kenny Albert. Kenny, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. You are back again after covering the Saints and the Browns game. You get to do the Rams this weekend. How much do you enjoy coming to the Superdome and covering the Saints?
Oh, I love it. Really enjoy every trip to New Orleans, Erin. It's a great city to visit, a fun team to be around. There's always a great atmosphere in the Dome. My partner, Jonathan Vilma, of course, is a Saints legend. So really looking forward to the trip this weekend.
You got a good one last week or 2 weeks ago now against the Browns. Lots of storylines surrounding that one. What are you expecting with this Rams game?
That was a really fun game. Despite the records going into the game, it was probably one of the most entertaining games that our crew has worked all season. So we hope for more of the same this Sunday when the Rams come to town. 2 teams that are certainly still alive. Their seasons aren't over. When you look at the respective divisions, the NFC South and the NFC West, if the Saints can win this game on Sunday, it would be 3 in a row. And then they have a game against the Giants the following week, a team that's really struggling. So they could put together a pretty good run here. And then the Rams coming off the loss to Philadelphia, but they're still in the mix in the NFC West. They have some exciting players, obviously, with Matthew Stafford and their receivers, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and some really young, good players on the defensive side. So I think it'll be a great matchup this Sunday.
How have the Rams changed since they got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back in the lineup after week 8?
Right. It's a big difference, obviously. They're two Pro Bowl caliber players. We've seen what they've done in the past. Cooper Kupp is a Super Bowl MVP. Nacua set all kinds of rookie records last season, and they both did have the injury issues earlier this year, but they're a much different team with those guys out on the field and healthy.
Somebody that came up today in talking to some of the Saints players was Kyron Williams and his ability to really help boost their run game. How does having that dynamic help them?
Right. It's similar to an Alvin Kamara with the Saints. Kyron Williams has had a terrific start to his career, still a young player. He's somewhat of a touchdown machine. So when you look at the balance they have with Williams, with Nacua, and Kupp back, and a play caller in Sean McVay, who has had great success. He's gotten to 2 Super Bowls as a head coach. He's won one of them, and one of the best offensive minds in the entire NFL.
When you look at the defense, you mentioned they've got some young players. No more Aaron Donald there looking across the line at you. Who are some of the names that we should be looking out for?
Right. No, it's certainly a different defense without Aaron Donald there. But when you look at some of their draft picks, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, those are really athletic young players that the Rams will turn their defense over to during this next generation following the retirement of Aaron Donald.
For the Saints, it's been a little different here over the last several weeks with the interim head coach, Darren Rizzi, at the helm now. How do you think he's changed maybe just the vibes around the team?
Yeah, it's been great. He's a guy that has had tremendous success as a special teams coach, first with the Dolphins and then with the Saints, assistant head coach. And I've known Darren Rizzi for a long time. We're both from New Jersey. We have some mutual connections. So I've always been a big fan. Always loved talking about game management situations with him on the field prior to games that I've done, not only this season, but in past years. But he really seems to have brought, a renewed sense of energy and enthusiasm to the locker room. And he's a guy that even when he was the assistant head coach and the special teams coach before he took over as interim head coach, he's up in front of the entire team pretty frequently in his role about game management. Almost every player on the team is involved in special teams at some point during the season. So it's not like he was a position coach who only dealt with 5 or 6 guys. He's been in front of the entire team. He has a great personality, a great way about him. He's so highly respected around the league. And I think he's done a great job so far. Obviously, they've won the first 2 games. And, I think whether it's in New Orleans or somewhere else, I think he certainly should get an opportunity to be a head coach on a full-time basis in the near future.
The Saints did deal with a lot of injuries in the middle part of the season here, but seem to be pretty healthy right now. The addition of Marquez Valdes-Scantling really helps in the depleted wide receiver room. And you got to see some of him at his best. What do you like about the connection between him and Carr?
Right. I think the first thing that stands out is his speed, Valdes-Scantling. And they've been able to take advantage of that, the connection that he's had with Carr. Obviously, a couple of big losses with Olave and Shaheed out, but Valdes-Scantling has stepped up. The tight ends group has played very well. Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson. And obviously Taysom Hill, the jack of all trades, lining up at so many different spots. Had a tremendous game 2 weeks ago against the Browns, named the offensive player of the week in the NFC. And, Darren Rizzi told us prior to that game, we're at our best when Taysom's doing a little bit of everything. And that was the case right from the start in the game against Cleveland.
Have you ever seen a player like him?
I don't think so. I was actually thinking about that. Just somebody that does so many different things, that could line up at quarterback, running back, at tight end, at receiver. Such a great player on special teams. I jokingly asked him if he's ever lobbied to play defense at all throughout his career. But, No, he's really a special player and just so versatile and obviously a huge part of the Saints' success.
Yeah, I think if they asked him to play defense, he would do it because that's just how selfless he is and he loves a new challenge. But so far, I don't think that's been proposed. So we're going to keep him on
Yeah,
the
no, I don't think
offensive.
so. But you know what? He's been so efficient at everything he's done that you certainly wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. The Saints defensively, though, especially up front, have solidified their pass rush. They've still working on stopping the run. It's been the explosive plays that have caused trouble for them. How do you even begin to correct that when it really can just be one thing here or there and you give up, 70 yards?
Right. And they have cut down that a little bit in recent weeks. So it's something they're trying to shore up. Certainly injuries and missing players have certainly been a part of it. You mentioned the pass rush, the job that Granderson's done this year and Shepard and Saunders. And, Cam Jordan seems to have a new life. Wasn't playing that many snaps prior to the coaching change. He's been a big part of it the last two games. And we all know, what a huge leader he is, both out on the field, on the sideline, in the locker room. So it's great to see him back out on there, on the field a lot more than he had been playing.
You pull a lot of double duties as far as all of the different hats you wear doing hockey tonight. How do you manage that?
I guess I feel a little bit like Taysom Hill, right?
Yeah.
I'm used to it. It's been 3 decades, believe it or not. I've been involved in the NFL on Fox now for 31 years. I've done hockey for now 34 years professionally, do some basketball, some baseball as well. But football and hockey are the two primary sports for me. But you just have to be organized, and I like to get the work done well in advance. I have a checklist that I go through before each and every game. It certainly helps to have a repeat team. We had the Saints game against Cleveland, so that actually does help a lot during the preparation.
Right. So it was our last game, but it wasn't your last game. Who did you have last weekend?
Last weekend we had the Lions and the Colts, so it was
Okay.
exciting to see the Detroit Lions for the first time. They played a very efficient, methodical game. They didn't put up 50 points like they did a couple of other times this season, but their defense was big in the first half, stopping a couple of Colts drives in the red zone. Their running backs, Gibbs and Montgomery, were outstanding, combining for 3 touchdowns. Jared Goff had a big game, so we were in Indy last week for the Lions and Colts.
Yeah. The Lions do seem like they have it going on this year, and we'll be one of those teams that maybe be back here in New Orleans when this is all said and done. What is the key, you think, for the Saints to get this win on Sunday?
I think to continue doing what they're doing, whether it's using Taysom Hill all over the place. Derek Carr's had 2 really good games back to back. He spread it around to so many different receivers. They played well defensively. So I think to play a complete game, to get it done in all 3 phases would be a big key for the Saints this Sunday because they're going up against a good football team in the Rams.
All right. Do you have Thanksgiving plans? Are you getting some time off?
Not much time off. I'm taking a ride home tonight after the hockey game in Denver, so I will be home for Thanksgiving for about 12 hours and then have to head back on the road, but at least I will get home for the day tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time talking to me about this game, and we look forward to having you back in the Dome on Sunday.
Thanks, Erin. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and look forward to heading back to New Orleans for this weekend's game. Should be a lot of fun.
Definitely. Thank you. This one is a 3:05 kick on Fox. Do not forget that. So a little more time to get ready for the game Sunday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and thank you, as always, for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast.